Hey there, I want to introduce you to Captain YouTube. This is a miniature that I've been working on for a long time. He's been around the channel for quite a bit, and he's been featured in a lot of videos that I made here. But it's mainly because it's just my sculpting model and my building model for the tutorials, and I finally had him to a point where I thought that it would be nice to give him a lick of paint as well. And the very first time he actually showed up was as a humble pushfit Primaris intercessor. I used him to show how to repose like the standard miniatures into more interesting poses. So what I did there is I separated the legs and I gave him a tactical rock to stand on, and I just made his pose a little bit more interesting. So after the repositioning the legs, the first upgrade that he got was some purity seals. And purity seals are a great way to hide crimes and to get away with some minor mistakes that you made without having to resculpt or fix the model itself. Next to being really part of the 40k universe as well. So they give some nice atmosphere and classic style to the Space Marines, but also help you to not have to fix every little mistake that you made. So I put some purity seals here at the back and one at the front, just to hide some bigger gaps that I didn't want to fix. And here, but this was later in the build, and this is based on one of the artworks in the Space Marine Codex with the heavy bolter guy with just a bunch of purity seals draped over his hand, which looks very cool. So I thought I'd emulate it. And the next thing that I used him for was a tutorial about sculpting cloths and capes, like the cloth that he has here, the red one, and the cape at the back, which didn't have the hairs fur that came later. Because I got a lot of questions on how to make the capes and cloths flow in a more natural way, other than just having a rectangle draped off the back of a miniature. So in that tutorial, I showed a couple of things about how to actually make them flow more naturally, but also how you make sure that the cloth remains in the position that you want it to be. And the trick there is to use some sticky putty and gravity. And that's way easier for purity seals because they're just smaller and thinner, so you can just stick them to part of the model, but especially the cape. And if it's not attached to anything at all, if you just let it cure with the model standing upright, it will drag itself down as well. So there are some tricks there which you can see in that video. And then the next thing I did with this guy as a tutorial was how to make the cables. And I have quite a few videos on how to make cables, and especially the ribbed ones. There's a tool for that called the Roll Maker, which is a fantastic tool, and I use it on every model that I make. There's at least one cable, and very likely multiple cables on there. And also how to make the cables that are positionable or that stand up by themselves. So there's a trick of making a metal wire inside that cable that you can then bend and put into position, which is very cool. And also in that video I showed a bit on more like the logic of cables and where they can go and should go, and the cable management, like the small ties around the cables that make it look less stuck on and more part of the miniature or part of the model. After that, the thing you received next was a banner. The banners are a really classical part of 40k. Second edition or third edition, like all the boxes of 10 Space Marines had 2 banners. So there was a sergeant and someone else both carrying a banner. And that really stuck with me always. So I really like that look of having those banners. And they're not as common anymore. This is actually a classic banner pole from 3rd edition, I think. And you had to add your own paper flags. But at that time I was making a Space Wolf Ancient with a large flag. And I wanted to give a small tutorial on how I made that. So both, again, how to position it and make it flow in the wind, but also how to make it rip and tear, as flags are bound to do if you go to a battlefield, right? And then finally, the final one was the fur on the cape. At that time I was making the epic box art Blood Angel's captain, who has a leopard skin over his shoulder. So I also made a tutorial out of that and showed you how to make it. It's actually quite easy, because I had the cape in place already. I added an extra layer of green stuff on top of that, and then with a sharp X-Acto I just drew the hairs in there. I think it looks very cool, and it's very easy to give it some contrast while painting as well. So after all that work, I thought the miniature itself was finished, and I didn't want to do any more tutorials on him, because I thought adding any more detail would just mess up the model, basically. So I decided to give him a paint job to do justice to his journey as Captain YouTube. And the first idea was to make a color scheme for YouTube, like red and white, and have some fun with that. But in the end, I decided to go back to the humble beginnings of Captain YouTube. Because in the very first video, I used the cover of 3rd edition like a basis or an inspiration for how to repose the miniature. As you can see, this one is of course kind of based on the guy at the front here. So I thought, okay, if that's the start of Captain YouTube, that also should be like the end point of Captain YouTube. So I tried to give him a John Blanche Black Templars style paint job. And I wanted to have some bright yellow accents, because that's what this artwork does quite a lot as well. So especially the guns, the yellow gun casings are just too cool not to use. So that's what I tried to go for as well. And then some red for the details. I think now in the lore the red also means something. I think back then it was just something that looked cool. And that's what I went for. I also wanted the base to fit in with the Black Templars artwork, which I also did for my previous Black Templars, but here I went a step further, and there's way more blacks, really dark browns in here than I did before. And I think this is actually quite a bit closer to what the artwork also shows. Now, when I was done painting, I wanted to do something with that banner, and I had some transfer slides from a long time ago. And those were just too cool to pass up. So that skull is really a classical Warhammer fantasy battle skull. Probably something vampire or undead, I'm not sure. It's from a transfer slide from way back when. I think around 2nd edition of 40k. I have no idea what edition of fantasy battles that would have been. And then finally, as a small joke, I couldn't pass up on this one. There's this, it's also a transfer slide saying Hellspawn. Yeah, so I had some fun there. I think it fits in quite well with the rest of the guys here. So there he is, Captain YouTube in all his glory. I think I've done him justice. I hope he thinks so too. He'll probably show up in quite a lot of other videos as well as a size comparison. You might have seen him standing next to the Dreadnought and some other stuff, just to size up other things. So that's it. Thanks for joining. Thanks for following the journey. And I will see you next time. Goodbye.